What happens when a CEO steps into his own store and sees a cashier on the verge of breaking down? That's exactly what shook Aaron Keller, the founder of a growing retail chain with 12 locations. By all accounts, he was successful. He had built his business from the ground up. But lately something felt off. Customer reviews were slipping. Employee turnover had spiked. Certain stores were underperforming despite the polished reports from his corporate team. They painted a rosy picture, but Aaron wasn't buying it. He needed real answers. Frustrated, he made a bold decision. He'd go undercover to see the truth for himself. With the help of a professional makeup artist, he transformed into someone unrecognizable, an average middle-aged man with wire-rimmed glasses, a salt and pepper beard, and a slight limp. Dressed in an ill-fitting polo and khakis, he looked nothing like the sharp-dressed CEO he usually was. Most of his employees had never met him in person. In this disguise, he was just another face in the crowd. Aaron chose a mid-performing location, a store in a suburban strip mall that had been showing declining profits for months. It was a rainy Tuesday morning when he walked in, posing as a new hire named Mark, supposedly there for training. The store manager, Trina, barely spared him a glance as she shoved a name tag into his hands. She was brisk, sharp-eyed, and all business. "Stay out of the way and don't screw anything up," she muttered before stalking off. Aaron nodded, masking his irritation. He followed orders, quietly observing. For the first few hours, nothing seemed outright wrong. Some employees hustled to restock shelves, while others dragged their feet, scrolling on their phones when they thought no one was looking. Trina barked orders but didn't seem interested in actually helping anyone. And then, something made Aaron stop cold. Near the checkout counter, a young cashier, Emma, was wiping her eyes, trying desperately to hide the fact that she was crying. She looked no older than 20, her hands trembling as she scanned items for a customer who barely acknowledged her. Aaron's stomach twisted. What happened to push her to this point? Before he could move, Trina stormed over, her voice sharp enough to cut glass. "Emma, what's the holdup? Get it together, you're slowing down the line." Emma flinched, her fingers fumbling over the register. "I am sorry," she stammered, her voice barely above a whisper. Trina scoffed, crossing her arms. "You're always sorry. Maybe if you spent less time crying and more time actually working, you wouldn't be so useless." Her words were loud enough for nearby customers to hear. Aaron's hands clenched into fists. A surge of anger burned through him. He wanted to step in, to pull Emma aside and demand to know what was happening. But he couldn't blow his cover, not yet. Instead he stayed close, watching, listening. At lunchtime, Aaron found Emma sitting alone in the break room, her head buried in her hands. He approached cautiously. "Hey, you okay?" His voice was soft, careful. Emma's head snapped up, startled. "Oh, I'm fine," she said quickly, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Aaron pulled out a chair across from her. "You don't look fine." She hesitated, then sighed, her shoulders slumping. "It's just, Trina's been on my case for weeks. Nothing I do is good enough and—" Her voice cracked. Aaron leaned in slightly. "And what?" he pressed gently. Emma swallowed hard before whispering, "My mom's in the hospital. She's been sick for months and I've been picking up extra shifts to help pay the bills. I'm just so tired. But Trina doesn't care. She thinks I'm lazy." Aaron's chest tightened. He could see it now, the exhaustion, the quiet desperation. Before he could respond, the break room door slammed open. "Emma, lunch is over. Get back out there." Trina's sharp voice cut through the room. She turned to Aaron, narrowing her eyes. "And you don't get too comfortable. You're on stock duty." Aaron forced a neutral expression. "Got it?" Inside, his anger simmered. For the rest of the day he watched Trina closely. The way she spoke to employees. The way they avoided her. The way the store's morale seemed like it had been sucked dry. Customers felt the tension too. Some glanced around uncomfortably, others left without buying anything. By the end of his shift, Aaron was exhausted, not just from the work, but from the emotional weight of what he had witnessed. He knew he couldn't stay undercover much longer. Things needed to change, fast. But first he needed to dig deeper. The next morning, Aaron arrived early, well before the store opened. He had spent the night thinking, piecing everything together. Emma's exhaustion, Trina's harshness, and the underlying tension that poisoned the entire store. It was worse than he had feared. He needed to see if yesterday was just one bad day, or part of a much bigger problem. As employees trickled in, Aaron noticed Emma was the last to arrive. Her shoulders were hunched, dark circles under her tired eyes. She mustered a quiet good morning to Trina. Trina didn't respond. Instead, she pulled Emma aside near the stockroom, her voice lowered but sharp. Aaron drifted closer, pretending to straighten a display nearby. Emma, I don't know how much longer I can keep you here if this is the effort I'm getting, Trina said, her words dripping with impatience. Emma stiffened. I'm trying. I don't need excuses, Trina cut her off. If you can't handle this, maybe you should find another job. Aaron's jaw tightened. His first instinct was to step in to call Trina out right then and there. But he couldn't, not yet. He needed more than one moment to justify what he was about to do. Taking a slow, steady breath, Aaron made a decision. Today he was going to dig deeper. He wasn't just going to fix this store. He was going to turn it upside down. Aaron scanned the faces of his employees, some filled with curiosity, others with unease. Emma still looked shaken, her arms wrapped around herself as if bracing for another storm. Louis stood beside her, his expression unreadable but alert. First off, Aaron began, his voice clear and firm, Trina is no longer with the company. A ripple of murmurs swept through the group. Some employees exchanged glances, while others exhaled in what Aaron raised a hand, silencing them. I know this store has been struggling, and after spending 2 days here I can see why. I built this company to be more than just another retail chain. I wanted it to be a place where people feel valued, both employees and customers. But that hasn't been happening here. Emma lowered her gaze and Louis shifted uncomfortably. Aaron took a step closer, softening his tone. That changes today. A cashier in the back raised his hand hesitantly. So, what happens now? Now, Aaron said, we start fresh. I'm bringing in a new interim manager. Someone who believes in teamwork, respect, and communication. But leadership isn't just about who's in charge. It's about all of us, about how we treat each other, how we show up every day. This store can be better. But I need your help. The employees exchanged cautious looks. Then Louis spoke up. Are you really going to make things different? Or is this just talk? Aaron met his gaze. Actions speak louder than words, don't they? Louis nodded slowly. Aaron turned to Emma. Emma, I heard what you said about your mom. I know you've been pushing yourself to the limit to keep up. That shouldn't have gone unnoticed. I'd like to talk after this and see what kind of support we can offer you. Emma's eyes widened. She blinked rapidly, nodding as she wiped at her face. And Louis, Aaron continued, I saw the way you stepped up today, how you went beyond your job description to make this place better. That's the kind of dedication that deserves recognition. I'll be speaking with corporate about a well-earned raise. Louis straightened in surprise, his lips parting slightly. Wait, seriously? Aaron smiled. Seriously. The room was silent for a moment, then, one by one, employees started to nod. The tension that had gripped the store began to loosen, replaced by something that had been missing for too long, hope. Aaron took a breath looking at his team. This is just the beginning. Let's get to work. And for the first time in a long time, the store didn't just feel like a job, it felt like a place worth being. Aaron took a steady breath, his gaze moving across the room. The weight of responsibility pressed heavily on his shoulders, but he wasn't here to make excuses. He was here to make things right. First, he said, his voice clear and steady, I want to apologize for not stepping in sooner. What I've seen over the last 2 days does not reflect the kind of company I want to run. That failure is on me. And I promise you, I'm going to fix it. A hushed silence settled over the group. Some employees shifted uncomfortably, while others studied him with cautious interest. Emma looked down at her clipboard, still hesitant to believe change was possible. Louis, standing nearby, crossed his arms, his expression guarded but attentive. Aaron turned to the two of them. Emma, Louis, you've both gone above and beyond even under tough circumstances. That hasn't gone unnoticed. He took a step closer, ensuring they understood the sincerity in his words. Starting today, Emma, I'm giving you paid time off to focus on your mom. You need to be with her, and that's what matters most. Emma's eyes widened, her lips parting as if she couldn't quite believe what she'd just heard. Wait, what? Aaron smiled gently. You've been carrying too much on your shoulders. It's time for us to carry some of that burden for you. Emma pressed a trembling hand to her mouth, blinking rapidly. I don't know what to say, she whispered. You don't have to say anything, Aaron assured her. Just take care of your mom. Then he turned to Louis. And Louis, your work ethic, your leadership, and the way you look out for your team? That's the kind of dedication that deserves recognition. So, effective immediately, I'm promoting you to assistant manager. A collective gasp rippled through the employees. Louis's arms dropped to his sides, his eyes wide with disbelief. Wait, seriously? Aaron nodded. Seriously? You've earned it. Applause broke out across the room. A few employees clapped hesitantly at first, but soon the energy shifted. There was a sense of something they hadn't felt in a long time, hope. But Aaron knew this was just the beginning. Aaron arrived at the store unannounced, this time as himself. No disguise. No pretense. Just a CEO determined to turn things around. As he stepped through the glass doors, the reaction was immediate. The employees froze mid-task, exchanging glances filled with uncertainty. Emma, now free from her usual work obligations but still present for the transition, clutched her clipboard like a shield. Louis stood a little taller but looked undeniably nervous. Aaron greeted them with a nod before speaking. "Good morning, everyone." His tone was calm but firm. "We're going to have a team meeting in the break room in 5 minutes. I need everyone there." A murmur passed through the staff as they shuffled toward the back. Some exchanged skeptical looks, clearly unsure of what to expect. Others remained quiet, waiting to see what would unfold. Inside the break room, employees filled the chairs, some leaning against the walls. Aaron stood at the front, hands clasped in front of him. He didn't need to command their attention. It was already his. "I know the last few days have been a lot," he began. "I want to thank you for your patience and for continuing to show up despite the challenges. But I also want to be honest with you." Pause. Then he looked each of them in the eye. "This store is not where it should be. And that's not just on you, that's on me too. I should have been paying closer attention." Emma shifted in her seat. Aaron caught the flicker of doubt in her expression. She wasn't the only one who felt that way. "I'm not here to point fingers," he continued. "I'm not here to make empty promises. I'm here to listen. And to fix what's broken." Silence filled the room. Then Louis, ever the brave one, spoke up. "So, what happens now?" Aaron leaned forward slightly. "Now we figure this out together. Let's start with this. What do you need to make this store and your jobs better?" The employees hesitated. Then Louis spoke again, his voice steady but cautious. "We need more support. A lot of us are doing the work of 2 or 3 people and it's exhausting. When someone like Emma is struggling, instead of helping, we've been tearing each other down." Emma's cheeks turned pink, but she nodded. "It's true. And it's hard to care about the job when you feel like no one cares about you." Aaron let the weight of her words settle. He could feel the shift in the room, the unspoken truths surfacing at last. He looked around. "Does anyone else feel the same?" Slowly hands went up. A middle-aged woman named Carla, who had been with the company for years, spoke next. "It's not just that we're understaffed. We've been afraid to speak up. Every time we tried to bring something to Trina, she'd shut us down. Or worse, make things harder for us. So people stopped trying." Aaron absorbed their words, nodding. "Thank you for sharing that. I hear you. And I want you to know that this cycle ends today." He stepped over to a whiteboard in the corner of the room and picked up a marker. "We're going to break this down into 2 parts, short-term fixes and long-term goals." He turned back to them. "Let's start with the short-term. What's the one thing that would make your day-to-day lives easier right now?" Louis answered without hesitation. "More staff." Emma added, "Better training. A lot of us were thrown into the job without really knowing what to do." Carla, her voice firm, said, "Respect. From management, from customers, from everyone." Aaron wrote each point down, nodding as he did. "Good. These are things we can start addressing immediately." He turned back to them. "I'm going to personally oversee the hiring of additional staff. We'll be launching a new training program to make sure every employee gets the support they need. And as for respect," his eyes met Carla's, "that starts now. With how I treat you, how we treat each other, and the culture we build from here forward." For the first time since stepping into the store, Aaron saw something in his employees he hadn't seen before. Belief. This was the beginning of something new. And he wasn't going to stop until he made things right. Aaron finished writing down their suggestions, then turned back to the team. "All right," he said, his tone steady and determined. "Here's what we're going to do. First, we're hiring 2 additional team members to lighten the load. I'll work with HR to get those job postings up by the end of the day. Second, we're revamping training so that everyone feels confident in their roles. No more being thrown into the deep end without support. And third," his gaze swept across the room, making sure every employee felt included, "I'll be personally checking in with this store every week to ensure these changes stick." A shift in the atmosphere was almost tangible. There was still hesitation, but for the first time, a spark of real hope flickered in the employees' eyes. "What about long-term?" Aaron asked, leaning slightly against the table. "What would make this store a place you're proud to work?" Louis spoke first. Opportunities to grow, he said. Like the promotion you gave me. That kind of thing motivates people. Better pay, Carla added. It's hard to stay committed when you're barely getting by. Aaron nodded, absorbing their concerns. Both valid points. I'll review our pay structure and see what adjustments we can make. And as for growth opportunities, I'll be creating a mentorship program to help anyone who wants to move up in the company. Emma, hesitant but determined, raised her hand. What about recognition for when we do something right? It feels like we only ever hear about what we're doing wrong. Aaron smiled. You're absolutely right, Emma. Starting today, we're implementing a recognition program. Every month, we'll highlight an employee who's gone above and beyond, and there will be real rewards tied to it. A ripple of cautious optimism spread through the group. The weight of exhaustion and frustration hadn't disappeared entirely, but something was shifting. But Aaron wasn't done yet. I also want to make something crystal clear, he said, his voice firm. Respect is non-negotiable. If anyone, manager or team member, disrespects you, I want to know immediately. There will be no tolerance for bullying or toxic behavior. Is that understood? A collective murmur of agreement spread through the room. Good, Aaron said. Now let's get to work. Louis, I'd like you to help me put together a new training plan. Carla, can you write up a list of the most urgent tasks that need extra hands? And Emma, I'd like to meet with you after your shift to discuss how we can support you better. The employees nodded, their faces shifting from wary skepticism to something resembling belief. As they filed out of the break room, Aaron felt a small but significant sense of accomplishment. This was just the beginning. But it was a start. Over the next few hours, Aaron worked side by side with the team, stocking shelves, assisting customers, and observing how the store operated firsthand. He saw the challenges they faced, but he also saw something else: potential. By the end of the day, the store felt different. It wasn't perfect, but it was lighter, more hopeful. As Aaron locked up for the night, he knew there was still a long road ahead. But for the first time in a long time, he felt confident they were on the right path. Sitting in his office, Aaron reviewed the changes he had promised to implement. His phone buzzed with an email from HR. The job postings for 2 new team members had gone live. Progress was underway. But his thoughts kept circling back to Emma. She had agreed to meet him that morning, on her day off, so they could talk privately about her situation and how the company could better support her. It wasn't just about fixing the store, it was about making sure people like Emma didn't fall through the cracks. At precisely 10 a.m., there was a soft knock on the door. Come in, Aaron called. Emma stepped inside, clutching her bag nervously. She looked more rested than before, but there was still a guardedness in her eyes. Hi, Mr. Keller, she said quietly. Please call me Aaron, he replied, gesturing for her to take a seat. Emma sat down, her posture stiff. She glanced around the office, clearly out of her element. I'm glad you came, Aaron said, keeping his tone light. I just want to chat and hear more about how we can help you, no pressure. Emma nodded but didn't speak right away. Aaron resisted the urge to fill the silence. He gave her time. Finally, she took a deep breath. I don't really know where to start, she admitted. I guess I just didn't think anyone cared. Not after how things were with Trina. Aaron leaned forward slightly. I understand why you'd feel that way. And I take responsibility for not stepping in sooner. But I want to change that. You shouldn't have to come to work feeling unsupported. Emma hesitated before finally opening up. It's been hard, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. My mom's been in and out of the hospital for months. She's all I have, so I've been taking extra shifts to cover her medical bills. But it's been overwhelming. Aaron felt a pang of guilt. For too long, she had been carrying this burden alone. Thank you for telling me, he said sincerely. First, I want you to know that we're going to cover the next 3 months of your mom's medical expenses. That should give you some breathing room. Emma's eyes widened. Wait, what? Are you serious? Completely serious, Aaron confirmed with a small smile. You've been working so hard, and it's time we step up and help you. Emma's lips trembled and she quickly wiped at her eyes. I don't even know what to say. Thank you. Thank you so much. There's more, Aaron continued. I want to bring you into our new mentorship program. Emma blinked, her expression shifting from disbelief to something close to hope. Me? Yes, you, Aaron said firmly. You're dedicated, hardworking, and you care about this place. If you're interested, I want to help you develop your skills and give you the opportunity to grow within the company. Emma exhaled shakily, as if the weight of months of stress was finally beginning to lift. I'd love that, she whispered. Aaron nodded. Good. Because I believe in you, Emma. And I'm not the only one. For the first time since she walked into his office, Emma smiled. Not a small, hesitant smile, but a real one. And in that moment Aaron knew, this wasn't just about fixing his store. It was about changing lives. Aaron leaned forward slightly, meeting Emma's uncertain gaze. You've got potential, Emma, and I want to help you grow into a leadership role, if that's something you're interested in. Emma blinked, completely stunned. Me? A leadership role? Why not? Aaron asked with a smile. You've already shown resilience and dedication. With the right support, I think you could thrive. Emma let out a shaky laugh. I don't even know what to say. No one's ever said anything like that to me before. Well, get used to it, Aaron said warmly. For the next 20 minutes, they discussed her schedule, her long-term goals, and how the company could better accommodate her needs. Aaron made it clear that this wasn't just empty talk. He genuinely wanted to help her succeed. By the end of the meeting, Emma looked different, lighter, as if some of the weight she'd been carrying had finally lifted. As she left his office, Aaron felt a renewed sense of purpose. But there was still more work to be done. The store transformed. That afternoon, Aaron returned to the store for another unannounced visit. The difference was noticeable the moment he walked in. The air felt lighter. Employees were more engaged, moving with confidence instead of exhaustion. Customers seemed more at ease. The once tense atmosphere had started to shift into something better. He spotted Louis at the front, already stepping into his new assistant manager role. The younger man was helping a flustered cashier navigate a complicated return, guiding her through the process with patience and reassurance. Louis, Aaron called as he approached. Louis looked up, surprised but pleased. Hey, Mr. Keller. Everything okay? Better than okay, Aaron said, clasping Louis's shoulder. I just wanted to check in and see how things are going. Louis nodded, a small but proud smile on his face. It's been good. The team's responding really well to the changes, and I think the recognition program idea is really motivating people. Carla's already talking about nominating one of the newer guys for next month. That's great to hear, Aaron said. Keep me updated on anything else you think we can improve. As they spoke, Aaron's gaze shifted to the back of the store. He noticed Carla assisting a customer, patiently explaining the differences between two products. She wasn't just rushing through the interaction. She was taking her time, ensuring the customer left feeling informed and satisfied. After the customer walked away, Aaron approached her. Carla, can I have a word? She straightened, a flicker of nervousness crossing her face. Of course, Mr. Keller. I just wanted to thank you, Aaron said sincerely. You've been a rock for this team and it hasn't gone unnoticed. Carla's eyes softened, her posture relaxing. Thank you. That means a lot. To show my appreciation, I'd like to give you a bonus for your hard work. Carla's jaw dropped. Wait, seriously? Seriously, Aaron confirmed. And if you're interested, I'd also like to discuss moving you into a training coordinator role. You've got a great way of connecting with people and I think you'd be perfect for it. Carla stared at him, stunned. I've never even thought about something like that. Well, think about it, Aaron said with a smile. We'll figure out the details, but I really believe this could be a great fit for you. She nodded slowly, a hint of excitement creeping into her expression. Okay, I will. By the end of the day, Aaron felt more confident than ever that the store was on the right track. The changes weren't just ideas anymore, they were real, tangible differences that were already improving morale. Employees were beginning to believe that their hard work mattered. As the sun set, Aaron stood outside the store, watching through the glass as his team worked together more cohesively than he had ever seen. It wasn't perfect yet, but it was getting there. He knew he couldn't fix everything overnight. But for the first time in a long time he felt like a real leader again. And that, he realized, made all the difference.